나의 레벨은 다르다 어나더 레벨 하식스와 함께하는 ASL 시즌 15 24강 비조 경기로 인사드립니다. 안녕하세요, 이영경입니다. 자, 어제 24강 개막전부터 정말 숨막히는 경기들이 이어졌는데요. 그 결과 2티어 김성대 선수와 3티어 최우선 선수가 각각 1, 2위를 차지하면서 16강 진출에 성공했습니다. 자, 오늘은 어떤 선수들이 16강에 오를 수 있을지 24강 비조 선수들 저와 함께 만나보시죠. 안녕하세요, 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요.
자, 먼저 1티어 김태경 선수와 인사 나눠보겠습니다. 안녕하세요.
네, 안녕하세요.
네, 지난 시즌 아쉽게 8강에서 머무르셨습니다. 이번 시즌은 예선부터 굉장히 기운이 좀 좋다라는 이야기들이 많은데요.
네.
좀 더 높이 올라갈 수 있는 시즌이라고 느껴지시나요?
사실은 솔직히 말하면 작년보다는 좀 떨어졌다고 생각해요, 실력이. 그래서 확신 뭐 결승 가겠다 그런 확신보다는 좀 한 단계씩 올라가야겠다는 좀 생각이 들고 아직은 좀 부족한 부분이 많은 것 같아요.
그렇다면 김태경 선수가 느끼시기에 이 비조는 넘어야 할 계단 중 낮은 턱이라고 느끼시나요? 좀 높은 턱이라고 느끼시나요?
좀 오히려 뭔가 이제 좀 솔직히 말하면 석현이 형이나 다른 친구들이 이제 석현이 형 게임을 잘 안 하잖아요. 그래가지고 뭐 쉬울 수 있겠다 이런 말들을 많이 할 텐데 제 입장에서 솔직히 더 어려워요. 석현이 형 같은 경우 뭐랄지도 모르고 그렇기 때문에 좀 다른 뭐 죽음의 조보다는 솔직히 전 더 어려운 것 같아요.
그렇다면 오늘 본인의 깔끔한 1위 진출에 약간은 좀 적신호가 켜질 수도 있겠다라고 생각을 하시나요? 그래도 1위 진출은 할 것 같다인가요?
처음 첫 경기 이기면 올라갈 것 같은데 석현이 형한테 지면 솔직히 잘 모르겠어요.
김태경 선수가 가장 까다롭게 느끼고 있는 첫 경기의 상대 고석현 선수와도 인사 나눠보겠습니다. 고석현 선수 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
오랜만에 또 본선에 올라온 고베르만입니다. 예선 1일차 경기에서는 아쉽게 불의의 일격을 좀 당하면서 마무리를 하셨지만 2일차에서도 다소 깔끔하게 또 본선에 올라오셨는데요. 이번 본선에 대한 느낌이 어떠신지 먼저 여쭙고 싶네요.
일단 예선에서 조가 너무 쉬웠어가지고 생각보다 그래가지고 좀 운 좋게 뚫었는데 24강에서는 그 투테란을 또 만나가지고 또 이제 1차가 또 저그전 너무 잘하는 또 태경이여가지고 약간 좀 편한 마음으로 왔습니다.
말씀하셨던 것처럼 오늘 첫 경기 상대가 저그전 최강자 김태경 선수입니다. 그럼에도 불구하고 프로토스전이라 고석현 선수 내심 마음속 깊은 곳에 내재된 자신감이 있을 수도 있겠다 싶거든요.
오늘 그냥 마인드가 한 명만 걸려라입니다.
그 한 명 누군가요? 가장 걸릴 것으로 예상되는 유력한 상대 누군가요?
그래도 1경기가 그나마 할만하지 않나. 제가 테란전이 워낙 딸려가지고 그리고 맵도 단장이 그래도 저가 괜찮거든요. 그래가지고 1경기를 이기면 그래도 좀 희망이 있지 않나 생각을 합니다.
김태경 선수는 고석현 선수의 경기가 가장 까다롭겠다라고 이야기를 한 반면 고석현 선수는 1경기가 가장 할만하다라고 이야기를 하셨습니다. 어떤 결과가 나올지 굉장히 기대되는데 또 두 명의 테란 중 한 선수인 조기석 선수와도 인사 나눠보겠습니다. 안녕하세요, 조기석 선수.
네, 안녕하세요.
1일차 예선부터 굉장히 좋은 모습을 보여주셨습니다. 기운이 그대로 본선까지 이어지기를 바라실 텐데 비조 준비하는 과정은 좀 어떠셨나요?
일단은 생각보다 이제 다 잘하는 쟁쟁 선수들이어가지고 뭔가 좀 쉽지는 않았는데 그래도 괜찮았던 것 같아요, 연습하는데.
사실 지난 시즌까지는 조기석 선수의 행보가 실력에 비해 너무 아쉽다라고 느끼시는 분들 본인도 아마 조금은 그렇게 느끼셨을 것 같은데 이번 시즌 반드시 좀 반등에 성공을 하셔야 될 것 같거든요. 본인의 예상치는 어느 정도일지 궁금합니다.
일단 뭐 지금 당장 뭐 우승을 하고 싶다 그런 건 없고 일단은 조지명식을 너무 못 간 지 너무 오래된 것 같아가지고 오늘 꼭 뚫어가지고 조지명식 한번 가고 싶습니다.
첫 번째 목표 조지명식을 향해 가겠다라는 조기석 선수의 목표까지 들어봤고요. 자, 또 한 명의 테란입니다. 어느덧 ASL의 터줏대감이 되신 황병영 선수와 인사 나눠보겠습니다. 안녕하세요.
네, 안녕하세요.
네, 시즌 9 첫 진출을 시작으로 어느새 7시즌 연속으로 또 함께하고 계십니다. 이제 ASL의 엄연한 터줏대감 자리 역할을 톡톡히 하고 계시는 것 같은데요. 이번 시즌 느낌이 좀 어떠세요?
일단 그 준비하는데 맵이 너무 좀 힘들어가지고 좀 준비하는 게 힘들었는데 근데 마지막에 그래도 좀 마무리가 잘 된 것 같아서 오늘 좀 좋은 경기를 할 수 있지 않을까. 네.
오늘 24강 첫 번째 단판전이 태태전입니다. 황병영 선수에게 어떤 느낌의 대진일까요?
요즘에 태태전이 그래도 좀 잘 돼가지고 조는 나쁘지 않은 것 같아요. 그냥
오.
왜냐면 처음 맵이 또 저거전 토스는 힘든 맵이라 그나마 태태전이 낫다고 생각을 해서 운이 좋았다고 생각합니다. 네.
이번 시즌 예선에서는 김태경 선수와 결승에서 만나서 아쉽게 패배한 것으로 알고 있는데 그 스토리를 좀 뭔가 바꿔보고 싶은 소망도 작게나마 있으실 것 같아요.
사실 그때 좀 벽을 느꼈거든요.
어.
너무 잘하셔가지고 근데 준비하는 동안 그래도 좀 잘하는 선수들이랑도 많이 연습을 해가지고 또 자신 있게 할 수 있을 것 같아요.
예선 때보다 더 많은 자신감을 가지고 본선에 좀 준비를 하신 것 같은데 본격적으로 팬 여러분들은 또 어떤 부분을 선수들에게 궁금해하셨을지 전달해 드리는 시간 갖겠습니다. 먼저 김태경 선수 경기 전마다 본인만의 좀 특별한 루틴이 있는지 징크스 같은 것들이 있다면 어떤 것들인지 좀 궁금해하시네요.
프로게이머 때는 솔직히 좀 화장실 많이 갔던 게 루틴이었던 것 같은데 지금은 솔직히 뭐 없어요.
오.
그냥 잠 잘 자고 처음에 그냥 세팅이 잘 되면 그때는 게임이 잘 되는 것 같거든요. 오늘은 좀 세팅이 잘 돼가지고 잘 될 것 같아요.
그렇군요. 조기석 선수는 혹시 좀 본인만의 루틴 같은 게 있나요?
따로 없고요. 저도 그냥 화장실 같은 거 좀 자주 갔었는데 근데 오늘은 좀 자주 안 가게 되더라고요. 그래서 오늘 뭔가 좀 다를 것 같아요.
모든 것들을 좀 비워내는데 중심을 둔 선수들의 루틴인 것 같네요. 자, 이번 질문은 선수들의 연습 스타일에 대한 좀 질문인데요. 이번 시즌 좀 뚜렷한 컨셉 맵들이 많아서 황병영 선수도 맵에 좀 어려움이 있었다라고 이야기를 좀 해주셨는데 이 무난한 운영형 맵과 컨셉 맵 중에 어디에 조금 더 중점을 뒀느냐라고 좀 궁금해하셨습니다. 기본기에 충실했냐 아니면 전략적인 부분을 조금 더 가다듬어 왔냐라는 질문이신 것 같은데 이 질문은 황병영 선수가 좀 답변을 해주실까요?
저는 원래는 이제 컨셉 맵 위주로 많이 했었는데 이번에 준비할 때 근데 다 진짜 비슷하게 준비한 것 같아요. 뭐 하나에 막 집중하지 않았고 종족전도 태저프 다 있어가지고 저번에 막 좀 안 한 종족전이 있었거든요. 그래가지고 이번에 진짜 비중을 그냥 거의 그렇게 한 것 같아요.
모든 종족전을 고르게 다 준비했기 때문에 특별히 또 치중한 부분은 없는 것 같다라고 말씀을 해주셨습니다. 다음 질문인데요. 돌아온 고베르만 고석현 선수가 B조에서 돌풍의 주역이 될 수 있을지라는 질문입니다. 사실 어제 1티어 변현재 선수가 또 많은 분들의 예상을 깨고 탈락을 하고 또 최우선 선수가 올라오면서 B조에서는 고석현 선수가 라고 예상하시는 분들도 많이 생겼거든요. 이거에 대한 본인의 생각도 좀 들어볼까요?
저는 그냥 오랜만에 그냥 서울에 그냥 마실 나왔다는 마인드로 그냥 오늘 왔습니다. 예.
그러기엔 김태경 선수의 경기에 좀 자신감을 많이 내비치신 것 같은데.
내비쳤다기보다는
네.
그나마 테란전보다 토스전이 괜찮다고 이제 말씀을 드린 거고 일단 그래도 최선을 다하겠습니다. 일단은. 예.
과연 고베르만 고석현 선수가 오늘 누구를 꽉 물고 또 16강으로 향할 수 있을지 없을지도 지켜보도록 하겠습니다. 이 마지막 질문을 드릴 텐데요. 앞선 질문과 어느 정도 좀 연결이 되는 것 같습니다. B조에서 이 선수에게만큼은 죽어도 절대로 지지 않겠다. 라는 선수가 있다면 어떤 선수일지 물어봐 주셨는데요. 이 질문은 김태경 선수가 좀 답변을 해주실까요?
네. 모르겠네요, 저도. 근데 저번에 기석이한테
고석현 선수를 바라보시면서 모르겠다고 말씀을 하시는 건가요?
아니 석현이 형은
네.
모르겠고 만약에
네.
이제 기석이랑 뭐 어디서든 만나면 저번에 떨어졌거든요. 아니 떨어진 거 아니고 졌거든요.
네.
기석이한테 이기고 싶네요.
그럼 같은 질문을 조기석 선수께도 좀 드려볼까요? B조에서 이 선수에게는 절대로 죽어도 지지 않겠다.
근데 네.
고석현 선수 왜
근데-
웃으시는 거예요?
1세트를 지면 안 될 것 같아요.
황병영 선수에게 절대 지지 않겠다. 두 선수 모두 첫 경기에서의 중요성을 계속해서 강조해주고 계시는데요. 어떤 결과가 나올지 지켜보도록 하겠습니다. 끝으로 네 선수에게 각각 오늘 경기 임하는 각오를 청해 듣겠습니다. 김태경 선수.
또 이제 오랜만에 올라온 것 같은데 다시 항상 마지막이라는 생각으로 경기 임하도록 하겠습니다.
좋습니다. 고석현 선수.
저도 오랜만에 이제 24강 진출했는데 16강 갈 수 있도록 최선을 다하겠습니다. 네.
기대하겠습니다. 조기석 선수.
오늘 진짜 많이 응원 와주셨는데 후회 없이 경기하고 돌아가겠습니다.
좋습니다. 황병영 선수.
네, 저도 오늘 준비 진짜 많이 해가지고 오늘 눈도 충혈됐거든요. 네, 그런 경기를 좋은 모습을 보여드릴 수 있도록 하겠습니다.
기대하도록 하겠습니다. 4명의 선수 오늘 멋진 승부 지켜보도록 하겠습니다. 인터뷰 고맙습니다. 나의 레벨은 다르다 어나더 레벨 하식스와 함께하는 ASL 시즌 15 24강 B조 경기를 앞두고 있습니다. 과연 오늘은 어떤 선수들이 16강으로 향할 수 있을지 4명의 선수들의 경기 지금 바로 함께하시죠.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to day 2 of the ASL. It's good to be back. I'm excited going forward. We've got Bisu here today. Hopefully he can perform well after we already had an insane upset with Mini getting eliminated in Group A.
Well, I tell you what, that was a little bit crazy, but, you know, Mini sometimes plays insanely, even in the early groups, even in situations where he should be able to get through. So that's not something that I feel like we have from Bisu as much. Bisu's got the experience. I think he's in very good shape right now, so I definitely think that Bisu can really deliver here, which, in my opinion, the tournament's always better if Bisu is going deep.
I could definitely get behind that. Before we get our show started, we just want to say thank you to everybody who's been supporting us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/ASL English. If you've been a fan of StarCraft 1, a fan of the ASL, or a fan of us, and you want to support the cause, please go there and do so. We really appreciate it. We would not be able to do any of this without the support on Patreon.
That's right. Thank you so much, guys, and hope that you are enjoying this season thus far. I mean, you can just look at these groups. There's so much excitement to come still, and I'm really looking forward to this group, honestly, Tasteless. Sharp is and always has been, always will be one of my favorite Terrans. Like, I love watching Bisu as well, but Sharp is just so entertaining as far as the Terran race goes.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely got a very unique approach to the matchup. It's fun to have HyuN here as well. I've always liked this guy and his personality. He's kind of a funny, charming guy. Definitely cool under pressure. And Bisu, I think, you know, this is one of the players that's kind of a big focal point of the whole tournament, right? Bisu, the god of Protoss in the old days, looks almost as good. I mean, I think Flash is still basically outshined everybody else. Being one of those players that was tip-top tier in the past and then playing in the modern era, but he's not in this tournament. And, you know, a lot of Bisu fans here, a lot of Bisu loyalists really want to see if he can actually take an ASL this season.
Yeah, well, that would be amazing, honestly. And anytime that Bisu's in that shape where he might be able to do it, that's just something to be excited about. Like his play style, his fan base, and everything. It's awesome. Of course, you know, we've got Jadong and Stork in here too. So like we have the whole cast and crew of these amazing old school legends. But you got to watch out for some of these up and comers still. Like for instance, Barracks, our tier 3 player here. Barracks is really good, man. This is like the new age of pro gamer coming up where, you know, this guy's got like 400 APM, and when his brain catches up to his hands, you better watch out.
Yeah, he's an extremely strong player here. I think if we had to pick who's going to get out, probably Bisu and Sharp, maybe even Sharp going out first. I think Sharp is a real threat to anybody that he goes up against. He does look like he's become a little bit weaker in the last year or two, compared to a couple of years before that, where he really looked to be very deadly. Always has a different approach to, he's the kind of guy that, like, he won't let his gas get stolen. He'll always try to make sure he gets his gas.
Yes.
The other Terrans will let their gas get stolen and try to use that imbalance in the resource distribution for the Protoss to try to throw them off a different way. So I've always enjoyed watching Sharp play, and you know, he's a very crafty Terran.
Yeah, that is a good thing that you mentioned. Like, he could end up winning this group as well. But I think that this group has a lot of different ways that it can go. The main match, though, to make sure the group doesn't get totally off its hinges, I think is this first one. If Bisu somehow screws up against HyuN and doesn't win, I think he'll get eliminated from the group. Like, his PVZ is definitely stronger than his PVT, right? Like, he should be able to dismantle HyuN, but it's a best of one. And HyuN is a smart guy. This guy knows how to plan things, knows how to do like some sort of sharp cheese or something unexpected. And I think that's what we'll see out of him against Bisu.
Whenever I look at HyuN play, I always think, yeah, he knows how to win. Like, he knows he knows how to take the game away. And he can do it in a multitude of different ways, but he definitely knows how to pull a fast one. He's a very sneaky Zerg. But, Bisu does seem to be the one Protoss that really does manage to make this matchup look imbalanced, like Protosses were always supposed to win, And I his style as well has always been to kind of get in the Zerg's face, control the matchup. Any shot you can take at the Zerg, you take it, and just kind of beat them down. So I would imagine, going into this, we're probably going to see some pretty ordinary openings from Bisu that are done at the absolute, with total perfect execution.
That's what he really should be doing, I think. I think you and I are on the same page. I hope Bisu is as well. And if he's not, I hope we can learn from that. But,
yeah.
I want to see basics from him. I want to see that great execution. From HyuN, I want to see him do something where he's like, I know you're going to play those basics, and we're going to play around that, right? Like, that's probably going to be his best shot here.
Yeah, we're moments away from getting into this match. Again, this is the very punishing part of the ASL. It's why it's so important for each of these players to try to get into the top 8, because you just don't want to. If you could avoid this part of the tournament, you would. It's so anything can happen in one game, man. I don't think Bisu fears any Zerg in a best of 5 or a best of 7, man. But in a best of 1, HyuN might pull something off.
For sure, best of 1s are super volatile. So we are going to get into that first best of 1, Bisu versus HyuN. Let's see how it goes.
Okay, start this off, we have Bisu here in the center left, and on the center right, we have HyuN. This is a map where, there's a lot of different ways the Protoss can try to open up the game. I wouldn't be surprised to see Bisu just go for either a gate expand or a forge expand. There are some rushes you can do with this high ground area. I don't think we're going to see it here. I feel like a lot of the weird cannon rushes and other funny stuff was sort of used up years and years and years and years ago. And it's just probably harder to pull any kind of crazy stuff off early on.
That's a good point. Like, that, definitely there was a time with Heartbreak Ridge where you would see crazy things like probes jumping over and cannon rushing behind hatches and stuff, but everyone's seen it a lot of times.
Yeah.
This map has been in existence since, when did it come out? Like, first version of Heartbreak Ridge, like 2006? Something
I think
like
you're
that.
Exactly right. I think I was going to say 2006. Yeah, it's for those of you who have only been watching ASL for a couple years, this you might have thought this map was brand new. It's actually very old. They brought it back into the rotation. This was definitely a map that a lot of players had a hard time on because a lot of the features that you see on it were very new. The weird high ground area in the back, the overall layout, with these bases hugging the bottom, and then all these different pathways in the middle. But I think it's made for some very interesting games. It's also a map where there's really just not a lot of expansions. You can kind of forget about the middle one. That one doesn't generally play a role, maybe in TVT in some games, but it's pretty hard to take. And, usually the game has already been forced in a very specific direction for one player, winning if it is. But yeah, it's not a lot of expansions here, even though it's a pretty wide map.
Yeah, like, to get 4 bases is quite a feat, right? Like, you have to expand way into the middle at that point, or have your bases split so far apart that one of them is not going to really be defendable. So certainly games on this map tend to come to a head like pretty quickly. I feel like I don't see that many maxed games here. There's like a lot of scuffles and someone gets the edge, and then the game tends to figure itself out from there.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like a map like Vermeer where, we could have a truly epic and insane long game. A lot of times it does come down to, can you actually get that extra base out here? Now, obviously, Zerg, they expand and grow at a quicker rate than the other races do that they're against. And so, we probably will see a lot of timed out pushes here from Bisu as we get into a later and later game where he's going to try to keep the Zerg on 3 bases, probably ideally. Zergs, they don't have to play to where they're just trying to constantly expand throughout the entire game. You can go for kind of a battle Zerg setup, like you're just trying to go for fights in the mid game, and a lot of times they'll take that to the Protoss to try to stop the Protoss from getting a third. I guess what I'm trying to say is that this should be a pretty explosive and epic mid game going into a later game.
Yeah, I really hope that you're right about that. On Bisu's side, you can see that he's actually, I like the way he's playing this. He's getting that Cybernetics core super, super fast. No Forge as of yet, as far as I can tell. And, just pressuring with those Zealots a little bit. The first Zealot going to get in, and there's only 4 Lings that I see so far.
Yeah, this is, oh wow, he actually gets the first drone.
Wow.
I'm a little bit stunned. I think that's more on HyuN and less on Bisu, but
yeah.
HyuN almost maybe playing like a little flustered here. Okay, so if you kill 2 drones, it's already a huge success. I'm honestly stunned. Just to throw back real quick here, Tastosis, we did see that core before the Forge here, and this does remind me a little bit of what Mini, showed everybody. Is he was very willing to just cut corners and dare the Zerg to rush him. And, it does look like in a game like this sets up perfectly for Bisu. Because the Zealot's wedged back here, there can't be a counterattack. A second Zealot's going to come up here and probably wedge itself somewhere else. And when you're doing stuff like this, the cannon for the Protoss can be late. Like, I mean, it really is kind of brilliant. He's setting up these difficult little positions that the Zerg has to deal with. He's chased away workers. He puts the Zealot exactly back here where it really can't be surrounded as easily. Looks like he gets drone drilled, but this should be a very quick starport coming out now, which puts even more pressure on HyuN. And honestly, HyuN is going to go for a Hydralisk Den. I mean, that's obviously a pretty common thing to see, but the Hydras are not going to have that same kind of power going into this because the Corsair is going to see it so quickly.
Not just that, but the 2 drone kills that early into the game, like you never really see that in PvZ, right? Like that's pretty rare. So I'm a bit nervous here for HyuN. I think that maybe it's nerves or something. Like I doubt if you see him practicing on ladder, he's going to just like lose. It doesn't matter that it's Bisu's Zealot, man. The first Zealot comes at the same time for everybody. Like you don't normally just lose 2 drones like that.
Yeah, it's weird too because HyuN always struck me as one of the most relaxed players at tournaments. Like he's always having fun.
Yeah.
Like he would always come up and talk to us and like make jokes and which honestly a lot of pros don't do. They're kind of in their own heads trying to get ready for the next match. So yeah, I mean that's a little bit surprising for me. And when you saw those 2 drones that were killed earlier on. So smart by Bisu to just force the Overlord to go down because he knows he can basically sandbag the Hydras coming out here because he's supply blocked. If you kill 2 drones early on with the Zealot, a lot of times the Zerg will just all in you, by the way. It's that bad.
That's, I've definitely noticed that as well. Like if I kill an early Overlord or an early drone, and even in Terran vs. Zerg, oftentimes in All In comes from there. They don't like anything being screwed up in the early game.
Yeah.
That being said, though, HyuN did just take an additional hatchery at that 4th base location. Is this going to be a faked Hydra rush because it's already been scouted so quickly?
I mean, it doesn't look like he has enough. I mean, there's almost more Zealots than there are Hydras and Lings here. Like, this doesn't seem like this is going to be too effective, but, you can force cannons. And it does seem like, hey, getting 4 cannons out this early, that is going to be very frustrating. The Hydras are going to go for a dive here. These cannons are kind of really well placed here. And now, the slow Zealots can kind of come down here and chase these Hydras. This is a lot of intensive micro here from HyuN if he's going to try to make this fight work. And that, Zealot speed is going to be done momentarily here. But yeah, Bisu already just so comfortable here as we start to enter the mid game.
He's got that very fast +1 as well. You know, he got the Citadel quite quickly also. So definitely looking a bit bad here for HyuN. Now, he's starting to make... Oh, that's another hatcher. I thought he was actually going to make some static D. But with these Zealots running up here, this is enough to just bust all those Hydras. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is he doesn't go for that 4th base. I don't think he expects a 4th base to be taken. But a lot of times when you come out with the Zealots like this is just to punish a Zerg who is not respecting where the Protoss is going to be in a game like this.
Well, the Zealots are kind of roaming back and forth. They go towards the 3rd, then they go towards the natural. Now going back towards the 3rd here once again. That Corsair harassing the Overlords slightly. And these Hydras trying to micro back into a tiny little area to try to really fight the Zealots as best as possible. But that is a lot of Zealots. And coming in from the side as well with the flank, it looks like HyuN is doing everything he can to try to hold.
Yeah, I mean, the Hydras, their numbers are getting lower and lower here. It just seems like there's barely enough Zealots, actually more than enough Zealots here to just continue to pound this. The DT is going to come in here and try to slip in. I don't know if HyuN's actually watching. I guess, yeah, if you have just 2 Hydras, I guess you can just fight that. And this is a very wise decision now to then come over here and hit that main hatchery. The DT somehow is alive, Artosis. I think HyuN might just be dead here.
Yeah, that's crazy. This was just the most absolutely one-sided game that we've seen in a long time in ASL, honestly. Like, Bisu absolutely destroys him in every way. Everything Bisu did worked perfectly, and everything HyuN did failed spectacularly. That was incredible from Bisu.
It's insane, too. You can see a little bit of an embarrassed grin there on HyuN's face. He knows what happened to him. You know, it's funny because, like, Bisu makes that look so easy. And, again, you know, it's like I said before the game started. It's probably going to be a very standard build that is done perfectly. And that's exactly what he did. He got the Corsairs out, got the Zealots with charge. He did the DT split. One DT goes to the main to try to run in, while the other DT is going to try to help bolster the position of the Zealots that are pushing in. No secrets revealed there from Bisu. He's just showing, just basically a standard Protoss build order versus Zerg flex. He can move on to the next target.
Very well done. And, of course, he will go on to that winner's match. HyuN going to await the Terran loser of our next match, Tastosis, that I know you're excited about. Because we get our first Terran versus Terran.
Everybody's so excited. The fans can't stop cheering. You guys don't hear it, but we do. As we're going to have a TVT coming up where Artosis is going to carry that cast, and I will try to find any insight I can. Guys, we'll be right back after this short break. Don't go away.
상큼함 맥스 칼로리 X 맛있는 탐스 제로 요즘 제일 탐나는 제로 탐스 제로 같이 떠나볼래?
솔직히 인간적으로 두 개 다 가졌어요 baby 칼로리 제로 맛은 제대로 그래 걱정 빼고 고민 빼고 맘소리 빼고 This is zero life This is zero life 빼건 뺐어 질성제이다 제로 맛있어 제대로 없어도 되는 건 빼고 사이다 제로 질성사이다 제로
Welcome back, everybody. I gotta say that was such a one-sided, dominant performance from Bisu. You know, obviously he's still got it. He's still a threat. Before we go into Game 2, we want to say again, if you have not decided to support us on Patreon already, we hope now we can push you in that direction to get you to sign up for a year, so that Artosis and I can keep the history of StarCraft alive for years and years to come.
You guys have been so amazing so far to help keep the ASL English casts alive. We are working hard. We've hired additional people as well to get these out as quickly as possible. Hope that you are enjoying. And the season is looking fantastic already. It warms my heart to see Bisu demolish HyuN so badly that HyuN has to laugh about it at the end. That gives me hope, Tastosis, because all I want in the whole world is a Bisu Jaedong finals. Like, imagine that. That would be the greatest thing ever to happen.
You know, not all finals are made equally. I mean, we've had plenty of finals that were amazing. We've had finals that were kind of forgettable, right? And sometimes you get the right mix of players that can just make it so special and so hype. So going forward here, we're going to be taking a look at Sharp versus Barracks. Again, Sharp is I wouldn't put him quite as like a tier 1 StarCraft 1 player, like maybe just tier 2 as far as the ASL players go. Does that make sense, Tastosis? Would you agree?
I can't argue with you. I can't. Like, maybe back in like an earlier season, we could have put him as like a tier 1. He's certainly one of the most experienced Terran players. But yeah, he's not like a champion guy. He's someone that can beat everybody. But yeah, you can't put him next to like the guys that actually can win the tournament. Because like, I love Sharp. He's been one of my favorite players forever. I love his style and everything. But I don't think he can win this tournament, you know. But I do think he could knock out anybody.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very good player. He does, as we've said before, he does have a very different approach to a lot of the matchups and a lot of the very specific, nuanced situations you get in the game. But he does not seem to quite have the full tool set to take down the other ASL champions. Now, Barracks, he's one of our younger guys, popular streamer here in Korea. I personally really like this guy. He's come to the Taste's LAN party a couple times, man, and helped us out by playing and competing there. But, you know, this is going to be a tough group for him. I find it very difficult to imagine Barracks gets out of this group. I think if he does lose here, he should have a great match against HyuN down the road. But I just think Sharp is a much more robust Terran overall.
Yeah, Sharp is more robust in a lot of ways. I think he understands the game a bit better. But Barracks is like super modern and very fast. So mechanically, there's chances for him to just win. I think Sharp has to be careful about the opener. If he does something like 3 Factory Vulture, Barracks might just outproduce him.
All right, guys, we're ready to go into game number 2 here in Group B and find out who wins this and goes on to face off against Bisu. Okay, we've got Sharp here in the center left and Barracks in the center right. Now, TVT is always dramatically impacted by the geography of the map. You know, high ground is so much better than low ground with siege tanks. And on this map, you have these rolling hills along with a kind of oval-like bridge in the center of the map. And Tastosis, I mean, I'm mostly going to be kind of interviewing you about TVT on this map because I've actually never played a TVT on it myself, but it does seem to me that it would be extremely important to just control this middle oval on the high ground on this map and the hills that roll up to it as well.
You know, so much of any Terran versus Terran is about that map control, but for this map, probably even more. All the areas are very thin and very difficult to bust. You know, you don't really have anything wide open, and there are so many hills, so many changes from low ground to high ground, so you're certainly right about that. Looking at the map, like, I would have to say my best guess here is they should both factory expand and both think about vultures, because if you can gain that map control, and you can get some units like on the high ground near your opponent. Like, let's say that you win the early vulture scuffle and you're the one that has a bunch of forward mines on the map, and then you start rallying tanks up there. That becomes a situation that's incredibly difficult to break out of very, very, very quickly for your opponent. So I think that that's something that they both should be aiming for here.
Now, is the massing of vultures in TVT, this is pretty standard on any map that has a big opening at the second base entrance. Is that correct?
Well, honestly, it's good on every map just about. Like maybe you could find some very weird map where vultures aren't going to be as strong, but just generally speaking, so there's 4 openers. There's like proxy racks. There's factory expand. There's expand without gas, which is gasless expand, and there's command center first, right? And factory expand is the safest as all. It has potential to beat everything, right? And it doesn't lose to proxy racks like the others do. So that's what you're going to generally see on like a 2-player map between pros. And when you go factory expansion, vultures is the strongest thing. Like you can do other things. You can go tank wraith. You can go for like a build that has earlier Goliaths and tanks. You can't. Those are playable, but it's like everyone agrees that vultures are the strongest way to open. But that can lead to some volatile games, right? Like if you miss one depot for a second, if your vultures don't fire first in a battle, there's a lot of little things that can go wrong that can steal the game from you immediately like that. It turns more into like a Zerg versus Zerg with vultures in a way.
Oh, that's an interesting way to put it. Yeah. It can be very unforgiving. Vultures shoot so fast, and they're brittle units. I would like to see more units in games in the future that are kind of like the Vulture. I like these high damage glass cannon like units. And so it seems like you're completely right, Artosis. They're both going to be taking a command center here. It looks like Barracks is actually a little bit quicker than Sharp. And the Vulture arms race is going to begin.
So here, what we have to watch is like when do the add-ons get made? That's a very quick add-on for Barracks. So he actually could be going Siege Tank. He might end up going Tank Wraith here, which would be really interesting. Now, Sharp is sending out his very first Vulture. So if that is a tank, oh my god, he's already upgrading? That's kind of wild. Like, I'm not really sure what I'm looking at here from Barracks. Because if you're on one factory and you're already getting an upgrade, the only thing I can think is that would be Siege. But, like, if he doesn't make Vultures out of this, like, if Sharp were to just send Vultures across the map, he'd be in trouble.
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing, right, is that Sharp's, he's not moving across the map. So, I think Barracks is going to scoop up a lead here pretty quickly. The armory's starting now. Both sides are going to be getting a second factory. And we have a second Vulture out on the map, so maybe it's actually not a tank after all. Maybe he's just going to start to get his Vulture upgrades.
You're certainly right. That's what we're seeing. And on Sharp's side, he's getting the very quick armory. So the build from Sharp, I completely understand. This is like kind of a hedging build where he might be getting mines here. With those Vultures, and then he gets into Goliath, so he doesn't die to Vultures, he doesn't die to Wraiths, and it kind of gives him more play going later into the game. On Barracks' side, though, I think, does he have Vulture speed already? That is absolutely wild. Now, the Barracks is trying to figure out what's going on. He sees the spinning machine shop there. But the Barracks' build in general, this is one of the... Yeah, he literally started Vulture speed before his second factory. Tasteless. I have never seen that. I don't understand what I'm looking at.
It seems like this would be effective the same way Ling speed is better against slow Lings, right? I think Sharp could just be killed here. I mean, what is this, 6 versus 4? Sorry, 5 versus 4. With more Vultures on the way, no doubt. A Goliath has come out, 2 actually. This is wild, man.
It is a weird opener. Barracks has gone into 3 factory Vulture. I'm kind of blown away by the way that Barracks is playing this. But like, since nothing happened in the early game, we can't really fault it. Like, it's totally fine. Everything he's done has worked out all right. Now, Sharp moving out with his Goliaths and Vultures. Goliaths in the early game are so incredibly good against Vultures. That's why that you see this type of build out of Sharp. It's like he basically can't die. He would have to screw up something. The Vultures sitting behind the Goliaths, so the Goliaths are tanking, is generally the way that you're going to want to take an engagement if Barracks tries to run up. And, when you see those Goliaths, you don't really want to attack anyways as Barracks.
The mine placement there from Barracks is very deliberate, right up onto the high ground here, in the hopes that maybe the Goliaths don't quite get the vision in time. The Goliaths, they kind of They occasionally serpentine when they walk. They don't always go in straight lines. And so maybe a mine can pop up and get a kill over there. Sharp comes up here with his own vultures and chases away a much smaller group of vultures here from Barracks. Now we have 3 tanks out here. Movement from Sharp coming through the middle of the map.
As Sharp lays the mines, you saw how Barracks got his mines out first, and he started sending tanks. And then as soon as he sees the counter mines being laid, he turns them around because it's like, okay, well, that's not going to work. You know, if there's mines on the high ground, you just saw Sharp suicide a couple Marines in because, like, when the mines are on the high ground and you're going to miss shots, you literally just can't attack. You need to either set the mines off purposefully or use a scan.
We've got some more vultures coming in over here now. 4 tanks, quite a lot to try to take this on. Some of these vultures are going to try to come down here and plant some mines. But I think with pretty good control overall, it doesn't... Oh, actually, it seems like Sharp is getting a little bit staggered in his movement here. You're either attacking from all sides or you're running from all sides. But in that one, he ended up losing that fight pretty badly.
That was not the engagement he was looking for. Like, he picked off SCVs a couple times now here to delay that 3rd command center from being built as quickly as Barracks wanted it. But yeah, he loses quite a few vultures there. He will go down in supply slightly. It's not the end of the world to lose some vultures here and there. At this point in the game, it does become a little bit more about that siege tank count. But that's a problem as well, because look at Sharp's army. He is mostly on vulture right now. And Barracks, on the other hand, has been going 2-factory siege tank for a while.
Yeah, and you know, the more tanks the Barracks can accumulate, pretty soon he's going to be able to really force a very impressive position here. And we really haven't seen it. I don't think a single tank's actually been killed. Is that correct, Tastosis? We've seen some tanks get knocked into the red.
Yeah, I think one got hit by mines a moment ago, and that's it. So I think he's lost like 1 tank. But, dude, when you're up like 6 tanks to 0, like that's Sharp's first tank right there. That's not a good thing, man. Like, look at this. He's starting to clear some of the mines. He's bringing his tanks forward. Tanks really are just so much better than all the other units in this matchup. So I'm a bit nervous here for Sharp, but he has a big army, right? Like, he has potential for a decent engagement, but Barracks is just going to siege up the center here.
Yeah, you know, TBT's funny. We almost always end up with this no man's land with the 2 tanks, the 2 groups of tanks in between each other. But if one side just doesn't have tanks, well, then you just end up with a siege tank push. They're just going to keep leapfrogging forward and claiming territory, and eventually they're going to try to get up and shell your command center.
Sharp certainly is trying with this strategy to, like, gain some advantages with his mass of vultures. He's kind of, like, slow on that 3rd base compared to where he could have been based on, like, what he had for mines on the map, but he does have the 3rd command center. His vultures still being hyperactive, but he hasn't really killed SCVs other than a couple that were going to make the base. He hasn't really reduced siege tank count. You know, he's still got like a reasonable supply. When you like just look at supply numbers, you're like, oh, look, it's even. It's really not because of the amount of siege tanks that are out compared to vultures. Vultures, you know, they're just... Scan calls them popcorn because it's like you can eat as much as you want, right? Like they're not that strong as you get more mech units out, and I'm really worried for him here because he's like a paper tiger right now, you know? This is not that scary. You have like 5 tanks.
Yeah, big vulture drop, by the way, coming up here in the main. This will probably be paired with some kind of movement out on the map here from Barracks so he can try to gain a little bit more ground here. And, you know, these vultures are kind of coming in single file, which is allowing Barracks to take on quite a bit of them. Here's that movement I was talking about, the unsiege and probably a little bit of a slide over here. Up onto this hill over here on the on Sharp's side of the map. And he's going to start to really gain some ground. We're seeing Sharp scramble with his tanks, but it's already going to be a moment where he cannot get onto the high ground. Okay, now, Barracks needs to siege up immediately, not overextending.
Ooh, some great targeting there from Barracks. He's going to kill some of those frontal tanks. Sharp did move over some tanks in his main base. A really nice move there. In the meantime, a counter drop going down. Barracks actually made a Wraith already, knowing that this was coming. He saw the dropship pop out on the other side. Always smart to have a Wraith in the early game for this. And not really going to take too much damage from that Vulture drop either.
It takes his tank forever to kill this Vulture. It's kind of funny. By the way, where the tanks are for Barracks, close to the center and then a little bit to the left, if he gets any more tanks over there, you can start to pile on into the main. One thing to note about this map, there's actually not a lot of room to easily build stuff on. So if you get into the main, where are they going to make their factories? I guess they can make them like outside the natural, but it's not a convenient spot. So I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it would be worth watching for. If we see Barracks gain more ground, he may start getting dropships and just ferrying as many units as he can right inside the main and forcing the factories to lift off.
It's a very good point. That can end the game super, super fast, like especially from that ridge. I think that's why Sharp made that little siege area of those tanks. He's aware of that possibly occurring. But the big thing we have going on in the game right now is that 3 starport rate. That's kind of a sneaky maneuver. I'm surprised he's bringing them out this early. Maybe it got scanned actually from Sharp, so he feels like he needs to. And in fact, he does have cloaks, so he's going to utilize those wraiths to pick off the Goliaths. And like, honestly, man, this is looking better and better for Barracks. To get a few free tank kills, like every Wraith is basically, it's the same cost as a tank. So if you use 5 Wraiths and you suddenly kill a bunch of tanks, man, you're getting even further ahead than before. And look at the supply differential, 40 supply advantage for Barracks 13 minutes into the game.
And I mean, this is just getting worse and worse. I mean, there's no recourse here for the Wraiths. He's going to take these tanks out. Wraiths are coming out at 3 at a time. I saw one right there from Sharp. He just doesn't have enough to, I think, be competitive right now for this. And the tanks are going to spill over here on towards where the natural is. I think this game might be over, Artosis.
Certainly. That was a great mine hit right there, which actually almost demolishes his location here, his position. But I think you're right. This is a Barracks victory. He's up twice the supply. This was beautifully played. It was really interesting how both of them try to approach this. I feel like I'm actually getting some chills thinking about the openers and how the game ended up looking. Not your standard TVT. We definitely had a lot of vulture movement and everything as always, but like very cool game there, and Barracks gonna take it down to go to that winner's match.
Yeah, nicely done there by Barracks. I gotta say, this guy continues to improve, and a game like StarCraft that's basically gonna be around forever, we're never gonna stop playing it. You gotta think, man, like, how much better can this guy get? I remember casting Barracks a couple of years ago, and no disrespect to the guy, but he was much more forgettable. And now I look at him and I think, man, he's really on top of it. And what a cool opening as well.
Yeah, honestly, I've never seen someone just go add-on right away, speed right away, then second factory. That is a very different type of build, but it gave him that quick vulture speed, and it seems to have worked out for him. He had that early map control, got into his siege tanks very cleanly. Amazing play, and I'm looking forward to seeing him against Bisu and seeing what he can do there.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one, though. Bisu clearly in very good form. And, as good as Barracks is, I think he's going to have to play one of the games of his life here. He's going to come out on top and win that. And, of course, Sharp is now going to go up against HyuN.
That should actually be a kind of interesting match as well. I think that Sharp's weakest matchup is generally his Terran Berserk. But HyuN is certainly the weaker player in the group. So we'll see how that one goes. But Barracks versus Bisu, I could see it going either way. Barracks is looking good today.
All right, guys, short break. We'll be right back and find out who survives Group B between Bisu and Barracks. Welcome back, everybody. ASL Season 15 Group B continues on. And now we have Bisu versus Barracks. This should be a really interesting match. I gotta say, Barracks really impressed me when he took on Sharp. But Bisu really is on another level.
Yeah, Bisu looked absolutely fantastic against HyuN, but HyuN did kind of fall apart there. Barracks looking good here as well. Like, his win was pretty dominant against Sharp. Although, for both matches, I do feel like their opponents didn't play super, super well. So I'm giving them fresh slates going into here. Now, Bisu versus Barracks, The thing is, Bisu, like forever, his Protoss vs. Terran has been weaker than his other matchups. So that does make me a bit nervous about him. Barracks is a very good Terran versus Protoss player. But, like, for instance, if he was against Snow or he was against Best or something like that, you know, the very best of the best in Protoss vs. Terran, I wouldn't give him much of a shot. But I think against Bisu, like, I could really see this going either way.
Yeah, I mean, if he beats Bisu, it's going to be insane, man. People are going to be going nuts. But, you know, the thing with Bisu, he never had a weak matchup. He's never really looked like he didn't have a very, very top-tier handle on PvT. And PvT's changed quite a bit over the years. But he's always, you know, he's known how to do the carrier play. He's known how to do proxy cheeses. He's known how to go into arbiter play. I have not personally had seen lots of footage of him going for the kind of mass shuttle Psystorm play that's pretty popular, but I can't imagine that's going to be one thing he can't do either. You know what I'm saying?
He certainly can do everything, and honestly, I think that would fit his style better than the carrier games that I see out of him. Like, he can do all of them. I actually don't like his carrier play that much. Like, I feel like he's not the greatest carrier guy. I'd rather see him utilize Psystorms and speed shuttles, but we'll see what he does here. It's going to be on Dark Origin, which is kind of our wild new two-player map. And yeah, I'm just excited to learn more about Dark Origin.
Yeah, let's see what Bisu's going to do here. Obviously, if you have a map with just 2 spawn locations, there are really exploitative things Protoss players can do, from Proxy Gate to Gas Steal to the combination of the two. But we're going to see what exactly Bisu has planned in this game now, because we're ready to go. Again, the winner escapes to the next round of the ASL Season 15. The loser goes to our final match of the evening.
So in the top left here, we have Bisu. And in the bottom right, we have Barracks. Kind of interested to see if Bisu wants to gas steal here. You know, I think gas steal is always a strong opener, but not everyone likes to do it every game.
Yeah, it seems to kind of come and go. It doesn't look like he's going to have a proxy gate either, because the probe would have already been sent out by now. Before this game picks up, guys, we want to mention this at least once while we're actually in a game here. Do check out the Patreon at patreon.com/ASL English and support us in our endeavor to keep the history of the original and greatest esport alive forever. Your support means so much, and we just literally wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. So we've got a new goal up there. Please check it out, and we really appreciate it.
It's very, very true. Thank you guys so much for your support thus far as well. So Bisu here throws down the pylon and sends his probe down. So it does look like it's going to be an offensive gas steal. And, you know, like you mentioned before, the only pro that, like, aggressively takes their own gas against this is Sharp. So I think Barracks will probably just let it happen. I don't think that we're going to see him, like, cancel SCVs to take it real quick. And, yeah, Bisu should be able to grab that gas in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, Barracks looks like he wanted to try to take it, but he would have had to cancel an SCV in order to get in there and actually do that. So the gateway, look, it's not right outside the Terran's base, but it is on the low ground. You can traffic a Zealot a little bit more quickly over here towards the entrance of the Terrans if you want. And this is actually one of the older builds in the game. Gas steal or no from Protoss. Even in the first year of the game, people are experimenting with gateways on low ground at the natural against Terran.
Now, Barracks' counterplay here is a proxy Barracks. This is honestly, like, old. Like, this was popular for a little bit when Eclipse was still new, which was years ago. But I haven't seen anyone lose to this in a really long time. Because it's quite easy as Protoss to just, like, look at what's going on, and SCV left the base, and, like, you only see one Barracks, and it's like, okay, well, I guess I'll just be careful.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no command center. There's no second Barracks in the main. You know the Terran's mining minerals. Those minerals have to go somewhere. This guy's not floating 500 minerals right now. And so you would suspect that it's going to be a Barracks somewhere. And the trick is to just keep the Zealots alive. Now, I do think the build that our Terran player is doing is a little bit better against a player that has the gateway on the low ground, because the gateway is an easier target. It can actually be rushed. It's not like you have a ramp to try to defend it. Another gas steal comes in.
That's kind of funny in a way, Tasteless, because this shows us that he doesn't really know what's going on, and Barracks might actually be able to get a victory. Like, you absolutely don't need to steal the gas again against the double Barracks play. If you know that this is occurring, you can do something like get a forge and make a cannon and laugh your way to the bank. But yeah, as is, he's trying to pressure with these Zealots, and I don't know like if he's going to truly get any damage done here. He's going to take damage to his Zealots. It looks like he's getting ready to make a Nexus, which is fantastic, but like this right now looks good for Barracks, because I think Bisu has no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised. That being said, Barracks still has to kind of be very careful with how he maneuvers here. But yeah, we're almost up to 5 Marines over there at that other Barracks. And, you know, eventually this is just not going to be enough to take this on. And, of course, when you see the gas isn't being retaken, you should, again, just know what's coming.
Yes,
there should be no
100%. In fact, his assimilator sees SCVs aren't being made right now. Like, come on. It's pretty straightforward. Now, the SCV drill comes up, and Marines coming from that second Barracks now. He is adding a second gate, but he doesn't have a gas. He doesn't have a forge. I feel like Bisu dropped the ball here, and he's going to pay for it.
Yeah, I'm a bit perplexed by this right now. Now, Zealots and Probes can beat Marines. It's definitely not easy for the Terran here, just because, you know, Marines are so brittle, and Zealots really do just have a lot of hit points. But, you know, this is a lot of Marines and SCVs. He's going to try to hit, but it seems like the Probes are going to come in so late. The Zealots are going to come here from the bottom. I don't know, man. I mean, it seems like these SCVs could probably just get in the way of these Zealots, and I think we're actually at the point of no return. And I got to say, I'm kind of blown away that we're seeing Bisu lose in what is honestly kind of a textbook situation in the matchup, and certainly an old situation we've seen more times than I can remember. He just dies to Marines and SCVs.
Yeah, he really didn't read what was going on at all. At all, because, like, again, it's not... As soon as you realize that there's a second Barracks, the game is kind of over for Terran. Bisu's still trying to micro his SCVs, or his Probes coming out to fight the SCVs. His Zealots getting some hits here as well. He does have double Barracks. Maybe there's still some way, because don't forget, like, if he ends up killing this group of units, he can still win, because Terran doesn't have anything at home.
Right. The 4th Zealot's going to pop out, and... Okay, this is actually just so close. He's not really mining any minerals right now. I think he's got like 4 SCVs or something mining back there. Is there a gateway in the main Artosis?
Yeah, there is. There is a second gateway. That's why I'm kind of like, well, maybe we're calling it too soon. Like, there is a possibility that Bisu wins this. In fact, he just got on a bunch of the Marines. The Probes drilling through, actually screwing up the AI so much. Oh my God, Tasteless. Is Bisu going to hold this?
You know, I guess I need to see how many Probes are also mining for Bisu, right? I mean, I'm not really clear on what he's got.
Dude, I think he's got it. I think.
Well, the bunker's done. Oh, and the Marine gets inside.
Oh, the SCVs can't get onto repair, though. Really nice blocking with those Zealots and Probe in the front. And now it's 3 Zealots against 3 Marines and, like, 5 SCVs. And I honestly can't believe what I'm seeing. Like, this... Bisu should have had a free win, but then had like a free loss, and now won anyways. It's a wild game.
I just can't believe this. So there's 3 Probes mining there. There's not a lot in the main either. I think
that Barracks only has like 4 SCVs at home, man. Like, I think he barely has anything right now.
Yeah, it seems like he maybe was a little bit too liberal with the SCVs there early on. Well, hold on a second. If with good targeting...
Oh,
yeah, that's
man.
it. GG. What a weird game. Okay. Okay. I don't know.
Bisu.
You guys tell me. What a weird game.
That was. Barracks definitely screwed up on that a little bit. I think the SCV blocking may be slightly off. Bisu did a good job, like retreating zealots when he needed to. The shield battery helped a lot. And I think the most important part is when he was pulling the probes and making sure the bunker didn't go up. Because if the bunker gets up, that's it. You know, you have this structure to do the entire attack around, but Bisu held on in a situation that I really think he should have lost.
I mean, I'm just. What an odd game. It feels like we were in watching a game from like 18 years ago or Tastosis. Like, I mean, it's just such a weird. I mean, that's a game in 2023. I don't know what else to say, man. Well, Bisu has moved on. He survives. I guess there's no real surprises there. We will be having an interview with him to see how he's feeling and what his expectations are going forward. Can he take this ASL? People have been watching him for years now, wanting him to come back to become a StarLeague champion.
Well, maybe this can be his season. I mean, great for him getting out in first place. Got to be feeling good about that after the tough build. But let's see what he's thinking.
ASL 시즌 15 24강 비조 경기 함께하고 계십니다. 정말 재밌는 경기가 남았는데요. 승자전 끝에 결국에 16강에 진출한 프로토스 김태경 선수 만나보겠습니다. 축하드립니다.
네, 감사합니다.
아, 김태경 선수 명경기를 만들고 16강에 다시 한번 안착하셨습니다. 시즌 11부터 참여한 모든 시즌 16강에 올라오고 있는 김태경 선수인데요. 먼저 소감을 좀 들어볼까요?
솔직히 좀 쉽지 않다고 생각했어요. 이번 주가 석현 형 좀 뭐 할지 몰라가지고 무서웠거든요. 근데 처음에 이제 쉽게 이겨가지고 그 이후엔 좀 오늘 올라가겠다 생각이 들었는데 잘 된 것 같아요.
첫 번째 경기는 예상보다는 잘 풀려서 다행이었다라는 말씀을 하셨지만 승자전은 어떤 마음이셨을지 굉장히 궁금해요. 황병영 선수가
네.
베럭스 치즈러쉬를 감행을 했거든요. 이걸 막을 수 있을까 싶을 정도로 정말 다량의 SCV가 치즈러쉬를 감행을 했는데 이걸 배터리를 짚고 결국에 질럿으로 막아내는 모습을 보면서 아 정말 손이 떨렸을 것 같다라는 생각이 들었는데 하면서는 어땠어요? 막을 수 있을 것 같았나요?
원래는 그냥 막을 거라고 생각해가지고 좀 자만했던 것 같아요. 그래서 컨트롤도 좀 그냥 어택 해놓고 안 봤던 것 같은데 이게 갑자기 SCV가 많이 오면서 좀 못 막을 사이즈가 나오더라고요. 그래서 저도 좀 당황해가지고 프로브를 본진에 있는 걸 한 5마리 더 끌고 왔는데 나중에는 어찌어찌 역시 그 질럿의 딱딱이가 좀 힘이 세가지고 그런가 그것 때문에 좀 이긴 것 같아요.
황병영 선수가 정말 강력한 수를 뒀는데 이걸 김태경 선수의 손에서 무력화시키면서 김태경 선수가 16강에 가장 먼저 오르는 쾌거를 이루셨습니다. 사실 경기 전 인터뷰에서는 지난 시즌보다 사실 본인의 실력이 좋지 않은 상태인 것 같다라고 말씀을 하셔서 좀 걱정하고 있는 게 아닌가 싶었는데 오히려 그 말씀이 연막이었나 싶을 정도로 오늘 경기 내용 자체는 굉장히 좀 가벼워 보였거든요.
근데 뭐 24강 그래도 좀 항상 뚫었으니까 뚫을 거라고 생각했는데 16강부터가 이제 고비인 것 같아요. 그래서 잘 준비해야 되지 않을까 생각이 들어요.
16강에 현재까지는 시드들도 모두 테란 저그들입니다. 김태경 선수 입장에서는 저그가 많을수록 또 좀 편안한 16강이 되지 않을까 싶은데요. 어떻게 생각하세요?
네, 구열이 형이 저그전 맵을 너무 안 좋게 만들어가지고 게임하는데 너무 화가 나더라고요. 그래서 저그보다는 좀 테란전이 괜찮거든요.
네.
이번 시즌. 그래서 테란전을 좀 하고 싶어요.
과연 김태경 선수가 원하는 대진이 또 16강에서 잘 만들어질 수 있을지 조지명식도 기대하도록 하겠습니다. 끝으로 팬분들께도 인사 전해주시죠.
오늘 아프리카 보니까 많이 응원방 많이 해주시더라고요. 뭐 철구 형이나 그 보성이나 미션 받고 있던데 보성이가 보성아 나중에 뽀찌 줘. 그리고 또 다른 분들이 또 많이 응원해 줬는데 뭐 너무 감사드리고 솔직히 제가 이번 시즌 솔직히 그렇게 막 큰 자신은 없는 것 같아요. 막 결승 가서 우승하겠다. 작년까지는 솔직히 좀 자신감이 있었는데 이번 시즌 좀 뭔가 힘들어가지고 솔직히 ASL도 불참하려고 했어요. 근데 온라인으로 이제 개인 방송에서 많이 응원해 주시고 또 오프라인 이렇게 경기장에 많이 찾아와 주시는 거 보니까 다시 잘해야겠다는 생각이 들고요. 솔직히 이 ASL이 뭐 평생 할 거 아니잖아요. 그래서 ASL이 있는 한 3번은 진짜 우승 해볼 수 있도록 노력해 보겠습니다.
또 팬분들을 생각하는 김태경 선수의 마음이 잘 드러났던 말씀이셨던 것 같습니다. 16강에서도 김태경 선수 다음 모습 기대하도록 하겠습니다. 진출 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
자, 이렇게 24강 B조에서 가장 먼저 16강에 오른 김태경 선수와 함께했습니다.
Don't give up, no, 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 don't give up. 질성사이다 제로 그래 걱정 빼고 고민 빼고 망설임 빼고 This is zero life 없어도 되는 건 빼고 질성사이다 제로
상큼함 맥스 칼로리 X 맛있는 함스 제로 요즘 제일 탐나는 제로 우리들의 제로 탐스 제로 같이 떠나볼래?
All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for waiting. It's time to eliminate one of these two players here in Group B. Sharp versus HyuN. I'll tell you, I did not see Sharp coming down to the losers match here. That was a bit of a surprise. Barracks did play very well, but I mean, if Sharp loses here, I'm going to be stunned. HyuN should be taken out fairly easily, but we've already had, it's weird to say because it's like day 2 and we're halfway through Group B. We've already had a ton of upsets in this ASL.
You're right about that. Mini already being gone is kind of the big one. Even just in-game upsets. Like if you look at how that last game went, that was crazy back and forth. Like it really looked like it should go one way, then the other, and it's like, oh my god, craziness. But here Sharp is his weakest matchup in my opinion is his TVZ, but it's still world class, so you can't really say too much about that. HyuN, like, I generally think of him as just an aggressive Zerg player. Obviously, we didn't get to see anything he had planned against Bisu. Bisu just smashed him. So I'm hoping he can at least, like, show us his skills this game.
You know, a lot of times if you're nervous as a player, you're going to experience it always in the first game. But if you have a couple more games to go through, you can kind of get those jitters out of your system, smooth that over, and come in with the performance that you know you can deliver with.
So we are going to go to Dark Origin. It feels like this is always going to be our second map with 76 and Nemesis getting vetoed for being weirdo maps. The fact that Dark Origin is the most normal out of the 3, I think we'll see a lot of it this season.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think we're going to basically forget that 76 is a map until we get to the best of 5s, and then we're going to have to try to figure out how to cast on that. It's such a weird map. But yeah, I mean, and that's always kind of been the case, is that these maps that are especially out there, I mean, look, if you're playing StarCraft all day, every day, why would you want to risk your tournament career on that map? You get something in your comfort zone, right? Anyways, we're ready now to go into Game 4 of the evening here, see who wins between Sharp and HyuN.
So Sharp is in the top left. And in the bottom right, we have HyuN. I'm excited to see how Sharp wants to end up opening up here. I mean, with HyuN, the standard is still the 2-hatch Mutalisk play. Keep that aggression on. Sharp generally does like SK Terran. Oh, wait a minute. A 5 pool?
Oh.
A 5 pool?
Oh. Okay.
That's
How
wild.
good is a 5 pool nowadays? I mean, everybody knows
Okay.
this build, right?
If your opponent walls in at their natural, you can kill them, and if they don't, Terran should win the game. Like, it's really not that strong. Look, his first depot goes there. Dude, Sharp should win this, I would say. Like, obviously it comes down to a few little micro things that are going to occur because the Lings get there before you have a Marine. So you actually, in fact, they get there, like, as your Barracks is finishing almost. So, yeah, let's see where Sharp puts the Barracks, and let's see when he figures out it's a 5 pool. Because, like, let's say the 5 pool gets up the ramp and you're not ready, things can go very badly wrong. So
And
he puts the Barracks is pretty far forward, but as long as an SCV goes down and sees this coming, you just end up pulling a bunch of SCVs to your ramp, and that'll give you time to build a bunker.
I see. Well, that SCV is being sent out now. The Zerg may end up doing the extractor trick to get another pair of Lings out. Yeah, just now it does that. Now the Overlord sees the SCV. Is there a way that he can have the Lings go around the SCV?
He might be able to wiggle that through, but the SCV will get there and see no natural hatchery pretty quickly.
Oh,
And in
that's
fact,
true,
HyuN
too,
doesn't
yeah.
even try. He just goes for it. And look at that, Sharp blocking the Lings just slightly. Now, like, basically, Tastosis, all you need to do here is make a bunker at your command center. You pull, yeah, this is perfect. You pull a bunch of SCVs to the ramp because the Lings have a hard time fighting up. You'll lose a couple SCVs, which is fine. But as long as you make a bunker next to your command center, you're good to go.
Yeah, and here's the wall of SCVs now. And I guess ideally you would attack and repair.
Oh
Is that
God,
correct,
he's bringing a Marine to the ramp. He doesn't want to build the bunker. Sometimes pro gamers, I feel like, don't deal with cheese as well as lower ranked players. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess he's blocked it so far without having a bunker, but he's losing like more SCVs than I feel like you should.
Yeah, I mean, now the Ling count's pretty low. Eventually you have enough Marines you can send those SCVs back, and I guess HyuN just goes into droning. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I kind of thought the... oh, God, I hate when we see the little Zergling hands, man, in the air.
I know.
They have, like, human
got
arms.
all their fingers in the air.
Yeah.
They're power
They're
posing.
manicured human hands. Like, look at that.
They're
They
ready to
literally
grab
have
onto
human
a bar.
arms. It's ridiculous, man. They have like smooth, like they've shaved the hair on their forearm off. Like, this is wrong.
Oh my God.
By the way, you know, it is actually kind of good for the viewers to see some of the most basic rushes in the game stopped. Because, like, if you play and you're like lower rank, people are 5 pooling you there. There's 5 pooling happening. 5 pooling's happening.
Actually, you know what's really confusing me is he made the bunker like I was talking about, but he fought at the ramp, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, keeping him out of your base, that is worth something, but is it worth, like, because if you look at how that went down, it feels like he could have gotten away with losing 1 SCV instead of like 4 or 5, and then just pulled back and microed around the bunker, but like, I guess, you know, you're denying all that vision, so that's good in a way, but Sharp moving across the map with his Marines. This is actually a very good move after a 4 pool or a 5 pool. Even if you lose these Marines, because they just can't make drones. Like, you're forcing them to make more Lings, whereas you are constant on those SCVs.
Yeah, there's a similar thing if you get 4 pooled as Protoss. It's just like send the Zealots back out because they're actually operating off of such a low worker count that it's like there's not a whole lot they can do. You know, Zerg, they have some of the most extraordinary rushes in the game, but they can backfire horribly if they're held because you're just, you know, you think of, you know, StarCraft 2, you start out with a lot of workers, right? StarCraft 1, you start out with 4. And so, you know, it takes a while to really accumulate enough workers to where the income's happening and the game is moving at a faster pace. And so, you know, you'll see the real sacrifices Zerg gave when you see how dysfunctional they are later on and the rush didn't work.
You certainly hiccup yourself quite a bit. Now the Spire gets started. That's like pretty quick to follow up a 5 pool. That's not too bad. Like You can tell HyuN has actually practiced this build and optimized it in just the way that he wants. And, you know, when the Mutalisks get out, he's going to have some more opportunities to try to make up this deficit that he's in. But certainly looking at this right now, there's a good amount of Marines, like more than enough to hold on against anything. In fact, even making a bunker just for safety's sake. And having that command center up, like, looking pretty good for Sharp right now.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of cool actually seeing HyuN how you play this out after the 5-pool didn't work. Like, there's something nice about seeing that as well. Like, I guess he just really tries to go into the mutas as quickly as possible. He is going to take a third base here. That doesn't feel like it's a very safe third base to take, but I don't think you can play a very safe game here as HyuN and actually come out on top. I think you need to take all the risks you can.
I would certainly agree with that. Like, if Sharp gets across the map, you're going to lose. So you may as well just take the base and get as many resources as you possibly can. The eBay is about to finish his scans as well. Everything is, like, immaculately timed here from Sharp. As soon as he scans the main, yeah, see, he scans, he sees eggs, he sees the Spire, and that means, okay, just build your turrets now. And he's going to be safe against the mutas. Like, just... very good defense overall, right? Like, I'm still slightly questioning the SCVs at the ramp, but it's whatever. It's all worked out perfectly for Sharp. He's making plenty of turrets. But I think the big story here is actually HyuN's recovery. Like, this is one of the better 4 or 5 pool recoveries that I feel like I've ever seen. Like, he actually has more drones and quicker mutas than I thought would really be possible when you just don't make drones in the early game.
Yeah. Well, it goes to show you, HyuN is a very solid player. It's interesting to see him kind of play into this style right now. It's going to be the mutas just trying to do any damage they can. You notice there's not that many mutas, though. He did have to cut corners somewhere. But he's getting his third gas immediately. And I guess he's just going to keep powering up. Will he get muta armor or attack here?
Ooh, I could see him getting attack. Right? Like, a Mutalisk +1 attack is really good if you're going to play aggressively. And then, you know, if you think that there's going to be, like, Valkyries or you're going to have to really battle, you might go for Carapace, right? Where instead of hit and runs, you know your mutas are going to have to eventually kill the Marines in a straight-up engagement. Like, if your opponent's going to force that, then that armor is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, just to have that sustain. Well, this is a great move to come in here. I mean, this is going to kind of pull those Marines back. Terran's going to come down anyways. This is going to allow HyuN to really pick off these units. What if HyuN wins this game or two? How weird would that be?
Well, that would be insane.
like,
after a 5-pool that didn't really work to just come back into, like, a pretty standard-looking game and win. That would be amazing. The one thing, like, he did just kill the turret on top of those barracks, and that type of thing makes me nervous for Terran. Because if you lose control of your production buildings, you lose, like, 98% of the time or something. It's like, it's just so hard to regain it. He is building more turrets, though, so hopefully he will be all right there. But you can see, like, this is what HyuN is focusing on. He's trying to stop turrets there. Oh my god, Sharp, though, catching some rallying mutas and going down. This attack is going to be what helps him get those mutas off his barracks. Like, HyuN has to go down and answer this.
These overlords out on the middle of the map. Oh, man. I mean, this is a lot of supply. He's going to get supply blocked here. Oh, and he's miscontrolling well. He's trying to flick the mutas in there, and instead he's just taking damage.
This is, that was definitely painful losing 3 overlords there. This is a tiny group of Marines, so HyuN will overwhelm this eventually. But, yeah, I mean, at least he's killing off this bio in the center of the map. And don't forget, he's got 3 gases, so he's making 9 mutas a minute right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. He just has to get those overlords back out so he can start to crank out more mutas. I mean, I see the 3rd and I believe it's 4th barracks being made, although it could be a starport. I can't. It's all the same animation, right? The first couple parts of the building.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have no way to tell, but I mean, this is a lot of damage. I feel like Sharp has been slowed down pretty tremendously.
Yeah, but his SCV count is still quite good. I would like to see him build more turrets, and he is finally doing that now. Like, any time that you're playing a game like this where your opponent is just making a ton of mutas, and, like, for instance, you've lost some bio on the map, you have to make so many more turrets than looks smart. You know, it's like I've seen it in
it's
PvZ
ridiculous.
as well, where you'll just be like, okay, we need 9 cannons, right?
Oh yeah, it's like when
It's
they're
that-
trying to Hydra bust you, it's like there's no such thing as too many cannons here. Like, that's
Yes,
all
when
we
they're
can
trying to
do.
mutabust you, there's no such thing as too many turrets. Like you, literally, the only thing in the world is trying not to die against the mutas because eventually you outscale them.
Yeah. But you got to be careful at your natural. You know, these turrets have been whittled away. I guess we're having a 4th turret be made over here now. But like this damage really starts to add up.
Yeah, he had 5 turrets here, but HyuN is breaking through everything. He's killed a lot of SCVs. Look at the supply differential, Tastosis. Like, HyuN is up quite a bit in supply. Sharp is actually, he's in bad shape now. He really lost a lot of SCVs during this harassment.
Yeah, this is pretty rough, man. I mean, he's barely mining. I guess he's going to transfer more SCVs down here, but this could just be more SCVs that get picked off. HyuN is playing out of his mind, honestly. I'm like blown away right now.
He's doing a fantastic job. There's no question about that. There is a Valkyrie on the way. When you see that Valkyrie's coming up, you got to have a plan for it. Are you going to try to mix in some Scourge and snipe it? Are you going to switch into Lurkers? Because that's going to be how Sharp fights his way back into this game. You know, I've seen Sharp in these bad situations before. Oh, dude, that's a lot of Hydras ready. Oh,
dude,
my
this
God.
is insane. Dude, he wants to make Lurkers, right? Or I guess there's no real rationale for just fighting with Hydras. Yeah, so he's going to have Lurkers. Dude, HyuN's going to win this game after failing with a 5 pool. This is totally insane.
You're probably right. There is an add-on on that factory, so there's potential for Sharp to go siege mode here. You know, make sure you have a couple Valkyries to push the mutas back, but then, you know, push out of the Lurker containment. But honestly, HyuN's economy is really good. That's a lot of Lurkers. He might just run up and kill the natural.
Yeah. Okay,
Oh
5
my
bunkers
God.
is a lot. Oh my God, the bunkers are going to go down. 2 Valkyries out here. Muta count is thinning.
He will kill all the mutas. He's got to pull these SCVs. He's got to pull this siege tank. Oh no, the siege tank gets stuck on the SCVs going up the ramp. Tastosis!
Oh God, it's so low. He's going
You have to keep the siege tank alive. You have to.
Oh my God, he's going to go burrow right underneath it. He's going to be able to hit the tank. He needs to get more Lurkers from here right now.
Oh, this is so crazy. And he blows up both of the tanks with these Lurkers. He gets on top of the barracks, and that's going to be that GG. Oh my God, a failed 5 pool into winning with a pretty standard Mutalisk macro play into a Lurker push. Sharp, kind of in shock. Honestly, that's the best recovery from an early pool I think I've ever seen.
Same, it's the best 5 pool recovery I have ever seen in my whole life. I'm sure everybody watching had it written off HyuN. I mean, after the Lings didn't really get inside the main. But he did it, and I'll tell you what, that is one of the most humiliating defeats for a pro gamer. I mean, Sharp was clearly a pick to move on from this group. He suffered in TVT, was outmaneuvered build order-wise by Barracks, and then here, HyuN just with pure mechanical skill, great decision-making, all off of, you know, a rush that's sort of famous for being the kind of rush that there is no coming back from. There is no recovering from.
It's always been called an all-in for a reason, but the way that HyuN got out of that, I'm actually a little bit nervous to play the ladder this week, Tastosis, because 100% people are going to look at that and be like, wait, you're saying I can play like standard Muta after a 5 pool? And I'm like, I hope not, man. That's going to be really difficult to play against.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the first thing you learn how to stop is that rush.
Yeah,
you learn it as Terran, Protoss, and Zerg. Like everybody has to know how to deal with that. The oldest build in the game, man. Anyways, guys, we've got a break, and when we come back, HyuN versus Barracks, the final match to see who moves on and who gets knocked out in Season 15 of the ASL.
It's a fast night.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I'll be coming up hot for a minute.
some more water.
말 그대로 진짜 한 방인데요.
자, 뒤에서 세방 들어갔고 전부 다 들어갔습니다. 와, 완전 대박. 네. 100% 거의 다 들어왔어요. 공격이 클 수밖에 없었고요.
다시
공격까지도 하루이 오면서 저울링으로
다가 저울링까지.
이거 잡아먹고 있어요. 와, 난리 나는데요, 테란. 그렇죠. 주력 병력을 전부 다 잡아먹었습니다.
일단은 하나밖에는 없었던 상황이거든요. 다
네.
일단 안마다가 포기를 했고.
좀 이게 헬리전이 되고 있는 상황인데요.
네.
베럭스에 잡혔습니다.
와, 좀 쉽지가 않습니다.
와, 자, 이제 색이 나오는데 올라가기만 하면 되는데
지난 시즌 8강의 완벽한 복수를. 자, 여기서 뮤탄 이 바이오닉 병력으로 쓰리가스 정리하는 게 목적이거든요. 러프하지 안 나왔습니다.
없는데요. 들어가는데 여기서 못 붙어요.
진짜 잘 버텼어요.
짓고 있는 상황이고 입구까지 오.
일꾼 커버와 벌처가 컨트롤으로
들어가는데요. 길막.
자, 본진 쪽에서
일단 드랍 대비에 신경 쓰느라 병력들이 빠져 있었거든요.
그렇죠. 그 사이에
So after we do all these groups, then it's round of 16 to 24. That's where it's like,
Yeah, round of 16 is the long one. And then round of 8 gets short again.
round of 8's always like 2 hours.
최다 연속 진출이 14번입니다. 자, 1분 정도까지 2분 앞에서 1분 올릴 수 있어요. 1분 올릴 수 있어요.
자, 스톱불입니다. 자, 시간 끌어주고 오는 거 하나
다시
잡아먹고.
스톱!
대박인데요. 여기서 스톱 기가 막히게 들어갑니다.
다시 스톱!
이거 하면
Jesus Christ, these ice with all these tanks, this is insane.
Yeah, man, recall and Side Storm and shit coming up the ramp. Look at the skill on this Protoss user. Wow.
확실한 펀치가 돼야 됩니다.
Dude, Arbiter builds are super popular right now, by the way. I don't know if you knew this, but they've come back for some reason.
I don't know why that is.
Yeah, they're like, I'm playing against two base ARB specifically. I'm playing against two base ARB, like, more than 50% of my TVPs right now. It's
Well, it's
crazy.
probably because Terrans are just sitting on 2 bases for longer and not taking a third right away.
Yeah, that probably is it. Because the standard standard armory builds, I don't figure out until the arbor is building, because that's just, you don't get your comsat until like 8 minutes 30 seconds. You start the academy or something is normal.
Yeah.
So that's probably why, is that it's just so late that you're like, well, fuck. Like, as I take my third, I also have to be ready for recall.
Yeah. Well, it seems like a lot of Terrans are just played safe, so then I think that the Protoss, instead of trying to expand a bunch and then maybe Terran can like quietly take a third, I think they just look for a fight.
이 상태에서 업그레이드 배틀을
자, 그러니까 덮쳐야죠. 그러니까 덮쳐야 돼요.
SCV 드랍
못 먹게. 그렇죠.
골리앗이 다 죽으면은 배틀이 끝납니다. 골리앗이 없어요. 골리앗이 없습니다. 골리앗이 없어요.
But you know who's in ridiculously good shape right now? It's Mind.
Oh, is that right?
Mind
was
is
so
in
fucking good.
super good shape right now. Like, he was inactive for a while, didn't even try ASL, but like, I've been watching his play a lot. He's beating everybody.
무조건 성공시켜야만 하는 그런 그 드랍십이었었는데 결국 멋지게 성공시켜버립니다.
That's pretty sick. Because there were times where he was pretty bad, honestly.
Yeah. He's definitely had an up and down career. But yeah, right now he looks really good. Like, he'll get out of his group, I'm almost certain.
Yeah.
By the way, I think you mistook Barracks for Calm again, because you said that he's like a really popular streamer.
Dude, I don't know why do I keep doing this? It's insane.
Because
It's
they both got
insane,
those eyes,
Arctos.
man.
It's like I just make the same mistake over and over. Sorry, we gotta start.
Welcome.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time to close out Group B. In what's been a kind of a it's been a kind of a weird day. Even the game that Bisu won to move on was sort of weird, right?
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of weird cheese fails or cheese fails that turn out to not matter and you win anyways. It's been a very, very odd series of games here.
Certainly not what I was expecting coming in. Even the more standard game, the Terran vs. Terran we had very strange opener from Barracks. So, yeah, it's been a wild day, but here we are in the final match. It's not what I had expected necessarily. I thought Sharp would probably be in the final match, but he is out. The Sharp killer here in HyuN, the greatest 5-pool macro player in the world, is going to be going up against Barracks, and it's going to be on Vermeer, which is like basically the best standard map in the world right now.
Yeah, Vermeer is like the new good map that we're going to have for an extremely long time. Like, Vermeer is just going to be around for a long time. I think it's a welcome map. I actually am glad we're having a lot more of these standard maps made. I think in years past, it got a little bit too eccentric with maps where, you know, we do know how to make a good balanced map, and it's good to rotate a couple in and change a few basic features to offer some new ways to approach the game, and I'm glad we have this one here now.
Well, we are going to be getting into it. This match going to decide who goes to that coveted round of 16. I got to say, I'm definitely favoring Barracks here. I don't know what HyuN is going to have up his sleeve.
Yeah, the fact that HyuN fizzled out against Bisu and then 5-pooled in the following game, I don't know where HyuN's at exactly, but we're going to find out. Game 5 is ready to go.
So in the top left, we have HyuN. And in the top right, we have Barracks.
So probably no 5-pool again here, but it's such a weird plot twist in the show today. You know, I think that it's very fair to say that we've seen players that really fumble in one of their games, and then it's almost like the degenerate gambler kicks in. Where you're like, okay, I'm not playing well. I'm going to cheese in the next game. Like, I'm going to do something really crazy in this next game because I'm not in good form, but I can probably steal a win here. It's single a limb here in this format of the tournament. So to see him 5-pool, I mean, I had basically written him off.
Yeah.
Like, I was going to mention that I saw Sharp at Shake Shack just a week ago by my house. I, like, bumped into him. And as I saw that 5-pool come down, I'm like, well, this isn't going to work. I'll mention this in the next game that Sharp's playing. And then HyuN went on to dominate and crush. Yeah, and I'm like, all right, well, never mind. But yeah, I mean, and by the way, had he 5-pooled here, he would have actually killed Barracks because Barracks is making a wall in on the low ground. Just want to point that out. This is some ballsy plays here from Barracks.
Well, honestly, if I'm Barracks here, I'm like, well, they're 100% he's not doing that again because I just saw him do it and I know what his plan is, and like it can't work twice, right? Like, I mean, it was impressive how he recovered, but you can't expect that to work again this tournament.
Yeah. I mean, imagine there's a tournament where HyuN's slowly advancing through ASL, 5-pooling every game against Terran, failing, and then winning with mutas. It's like, oh, I don't understand this game anymore, man.
Yeah, that would be actually really hilarious because it's just so rare. Like, honestly, here's the thing, Tastosis. Like, if I played HyuN and he 5-pooled and I blocked it, and then I lost, I would be so embarrassed. Even though he's 1,000 times better than me, you know what I mean?
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's just like not something that happens. So the fact that it happened to Sharp, man, HyuN has to be on top of the world. But look at this funny play. The drone is looking to do moving shots on the SCV. He's trying to prevent any scouting. He has a hold position drone on the ramp as well. So Barracks is not going to be able to get in. And this is a very tricky play because it's not 2-hatch. Okay, that is kind of the big thing here. Because 2-hatch play is so standard, he's trying to hide the fact that he's not doing this. Maybe picking this up from Shine's more recent play in the last ASL.
Yeah, this is a way to generate a lot of ambiguity about what you're trying to do in the mid-game tech. And you're thinking, okay, am I being cheesed? What's happening here? Is he going to do something even weirder, like make a Hydra Den and Hydra Rush? You know, there's always like a kind of weird, maybe not ideal, maybe not that good strats, but you don't know. You're guessing, right? It doesn't seem, though, like HyuN's doing anything crazy at all.
Well, he's putting his third hatch as far away as he possibly can from that main hatchery. And that in and of itself is a very good play. We saw when Shine was going back into 3-hatch plays that he was doing things like going lurker, like macro lurker, which, you know, you're not really expecting it. And if you don't know they're 3-hatch, the timings are all off and all these things. But one really big thing to mention here is you get 2 comstats. And with those 2 comstats, you can only scan 2 hatcheries. So 1/3 of the time here, you're not going to know what tech is going on. So, like, let's say that he puts a Hydra's Den at the base that doesn't get scanned, which, by the way, the main base will always be scanned every single time. So you don't put it there. It's a kind of a gamble between the back of the natural and the side of the 3rd hatchery. So it's like, if you scan both those and you don't see the tech, man. It's like, well, is it delayed lurker? Is it Mutalisk? It's so hard to say.
Yeah. I got to say, a really cool opening here from HyuN. I mean, who knows, man? HyuN might just kind of pull through with a win here. It was sad when Jadon came in there and just killed his 2 drones right at the start, but I guess, you know, it does take a little bit of time to get acclimated, right, to the tournament environment. And, I mean, he seems to be playing very smartly now. We haven't really seen any major executional mistakes here at all. It is going to be a Hydraless Den. This is the less common of the 2 main tech forks of either Spire or Hydra Den.
Right now, there is a little Bioforce coming out that walked around the Scouting Overlord. HyuN sees it with this group of Zerglings. He needs to get some Sunkens up, but they're not going to be up by the time that gets there. Oh, he is making a lot of Lings, so as long as speed is on the way, this should be just enough to knock that out. But, oh, with 2 more Fire Bats coming, that changes the math entirely.
Yeah, the Fire Bats actually, if they get angled correctly, can obliterate the Zerglings and then cause this breaking point where you're going to be able to tear through. This Sunken Colony started like a few seconds ago, so this is, well, he's got the Lings ready for the flank. He's going to come in here now. The Lings are not exactly merging up together at the same time. The Sunk is going to finish, and I feel like this has just exactly been handled incorrectly.
Yeah,
like it was,
his flank didn't hit it.
Storm of miscontrol.
Yeah. The flank didn't hit at the right time. If all the Lings hit at the same time, he clears that pretty easily. But then the Sunken wouldn't have finished as well. But definitely a mistake there. And now, like, this is pretty darn bad, man. He's lost a lot of drones. He's made a lot of Lings that haven't been able to do anything either.
Yeah, and this Firebat is going ham over here, taking out so many drones. That is a pretty devastating blow. Now, I'm almost like weirdly superstitious with HyuN now, where I'm like, no, it's good. He doesn't have any drones. Did you see the last game? Like, but the better part of me knows that this should be an extremely uphill fight for HyuN. Now, that being said, I think that's a bunker being made above the depot.
For sure.
But, you know, a couple of lurkers can just blow up a bunker. You know, if he can get over here quick enough, he could flip the game on its head. The second bunker is important. I would not mind seeing a third. This is one of these things where you want to defend. So, like, the only thing you have to do is defend this and you win.
That's right.
So you just spend everything you can on that. You know, most of StarCraft is a balancing act of trying to both develop in one's way and then also put aggression on and defend in another way. But in moments like this, all you have to do is just survive this one specific window of time. Oh, man, hold position lurkers. He's going to try to bait him. Oh, man, big brain plays here from Barracks.
Oh, yeah, with that scan and the nice spread, he is going to be able to, well, it's only down to 2 Marines against 2 lurkers. Channel your inner Slayer's Boxer.
It's Slayer's Boxer. Oh, the micro. Okay. He actually has as many lurkers as this guy has Marines. I don't think this is going to work out long term.
You're right, Tastosis. When he lost all those drones, HyuN had him exactly where he wanted him.
That's right. Now you've fallen for my trap. So he's going to keep leapfrogging the lurkers here.
The thing is, you can't, like, 3 lurkers won't even bust a single bunker, honestly. It's not going to work out.
Yeah, 3's a bad number.
Yeah, he lost way too much there, unfortunately, to the early push. And look at this, Barracks ready to push these back as well. Continues to run. The scans go off, just making sure that HyuN is not ahead of him, reburrowing. And, like, maybe HyuN can live for a little bit longer, but it's double the supply right here for Barracks.
Yeah, no, Barracks is playing a very comfortable game. You know, this was a game that was basically decided, though, in about a second and a half, with HyuN having a bit of a clumsy surround that, like, just barely didn't break the Terran. And then that allowed the Terran to seesaw this way into an advantage by killing all the drones. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, it's really too bad that he didn't flank it just a little bit better. The 3 Firebats, such heroes. Like, if it was 1 Firebat, he would have killed everything easily and been way ahead and probably ended up taking a huge advantage in the game and in winning. But as is, just these tiny decisions, these tiny executional errors have cost HyuN his chance at that round of 16 as Barracks moves up with his Bioforce. He's still over double the supply of HyuN. And I mean, HyuN is trying to make a miracle here, trying to get like a lucky volley where Barracks has looked away for a moment, but it's not going to happen. Look at that, Siege Tank's even coming in now to make sure he can push to the win.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I think, all but over right now. I mean, there's just not enough lurkers in the game, too. You know, every lurker is precious. You want to have a lot of them so that when push comes to shove, you can actually come in there and try to, like, really obliterate all the Marines and everything else that's there. But this is like one lurker that's trying to get in between this. Terran has all the pieces of the puzzle necessary to close this out.
Some more lurkers coming up, trying to get that forward burrow. No, oh man, losing another one here. It seems like endless scans coming out of Barracks as he kills these lurkers off, and GG is called. Barracks going to be moving on to that round of 16. What a wild group we had here today.
I got to say, I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed with Barracks. I think he's really... I mean, let's not forget, it looked like he was going to kill Bisu in that winners match. Like, he really was fine against every single player in this group. A really impressive showing. HyuN, by the way, reminding everybody that while you don't see him all the time in ASLs, this guy is a real threat. He is an old-school player. He's been around for a long time, and I would expect to see him again in seasons to come.
Oh, for sure. HyuN is, he's practicing a lot. Like, he's always online grinding it out. You can see he's come up with some really interesting things. That macro 5 pool, probably the most interesting thing we saw here today, but it's not going to be enough to bring him forward. Maybe he has to work on some more of the standard plays as well. He tried to trick Barracks there, but just wasn't quite aware of what was going on, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, that does it for Group B. Again, another big upset here. Sharp was the first to fall in this group. I never saw that coming. I actually thought Sharp was going to get out first, man.
Yeah, that would have been reasonable.
Yeah, I thought, well, you know, I'm also kind of a fanboy of Bisu, so I got to be sort of realistic here. Sharp's always looking pretty good, but not today. Anyways, we're going to have an interview with Barracks. Let's find out his thoughts now that he's moved on.
24강 B조 경기 모두 함께하셨습니다. 오늘의 마지막 16강 진출자죠. 테란 황병영 선수와 함께하겠습니다. 진출 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
최종전 끝에 2시즌 연속 16강 진출에 성공하셨습니다. 황병영 선수의 소감을 먼저 좀 들어볼까요?
우선 제가 너무 기분 좋고요. 준비를 많이 했는데 그래도 이렇게 진출할 수 있어가지고 너무 기쁘고 네, 기쁩니다. 아무 생각이 안 들어요.
준비를 정말 많이 했다는 게 많은 분들의 눈에서도 좀 느껴지셨던 것 같아요. 조기석 선수와의 경기에서의 레이스 운영이나 마지막 고석현 선수와의 경기에서 파이어벳 활용이나 근데 시도 자체가 정말 좋았던 김태경 선수와의 승자전이 결과가 좀 다소 아쉽게 느껴지실 것 같아요. 그 김태경 선수와의 경기 준비 과정을 좀 들어보고 싶은데요.
우선 빌드를 2가지 중에 이제 고민을 했어요. 근데 맵이 너무 힘들어가지고 근데 이제 사실 오늘 경기장에서 좀 정하려고 했거든요. 네. 1경기 이기면은 하려고 했는데 좀 잘 됐다고 생각을 했는데 이겼다고 생각 역시 방심을 하면 안 되는 것 같아요. 네.
베럭의 치즈러시까지 거의 이겼다고 생각하셨을 것 같아요. 경기 중반부에는 안 그러셨나요?
솔직히 인터뷰할 생각하고 있었는데
네.
너무 방심했어요. 방심하기도 했고 그리고 좀 오히려 두 가지를 준비를 하다 보니까 이게 또 연습 부족인 것 같아요. 솔직히 이 러시 이 투베럭도 막 그렇게 많이 해보지 않아가지고 그것 때문에 그 연습 부족이지 않나 그냥 그렇게 생각하고 게임에 임했어요. 네.
예선에서 김태경 선수를 만나셨을 때 좀 벽이 느껴졌다라고 해서 오늘 정말 좀 초강수를 둬서 꼭 그 벽을 넘고 싶다는 마음이 좀 느껴졌는데 아쉽게 24강에서는 실패에 불발됐지만 또 16강에서 김태경 선수를 만날 수 있으니까요. 또 황병영 선수의 성장을 또 기대해봐도 좋을 것 같습니다. 또 황병영 선수의 태태전에 대해서 많은 분들이 요즘 황병영 선수의 태태전 정말 기세가 좋다. 특히 레이스 운영에서 좀 깨달음을 얻은 것 같다라는 이야기들도 있는데요. 어떻게 생각하세요?
사실 태태전 같은 경우에 제가 따로 연습을 항상 하고 있었어요. 좀 프로리그 막 이런 거 하면서도 아무래도 태태전은 이제 다들 많이 경기를 못 하다 보니까 저는 이제 옛날 경기부터 다 찾아보면서 좀 태태전 연습을 많이 해놨는데 그게 지금 최근에 좀 많이 좀 도움이 되는 것 같아요.
역시 꾸준함의 모든 결과가 비결이다. 꾸준함이라는 걸 몸소 보여주고 계시는 것 같은데 황병영 선수 이렇게 잘하고 계심에도 아직까지 ASL 내에서 8강 진출의 커리어는 아직까지는 달성하지 못하셨습니다. 이번 시즌 15이 황병영 선수에게 정말 최적의 시기가 아닐까라는 생각이 드는데요. 생각을 좀 밝혀주시죠.
사실 막 8강은 항상 뭔가 갈 것 같은데 했었거든요. 그 게임도 사실 이번에 좀 준비하면서 많이 져가지고 좀 사실 저번 시즌 뭐 잘하는 사람이랑 해도 많이 이기긴 했거든요. 그래서 자신은 항상 있었는데 그게 좀 중요한 게 아닌 것 같아요. 저는 좀 멘탈 문제가 좀 있는 것 같아서 제 스스로 그래서 그것을 좀 보완을 해야 될 것 같아요. 오늘 뭐 실력적인 것보다는.
네, 충분히 오늘 승자전에서 패배하고 최종전을 거치셨기 때문에 또 한 번 단단해진 멘탈을 16강에서 기대해봐도 좋을 것 같습니다. 팬분들에게도 인사를 전해주실까요?
우선 오늘 응원 진짜 많이 와주신 것 같은데 뭐 저희 팬분도 있는지 모르겠지만 많이 와주셔서 너무 감사드리고요. 최근에 제가 그래도 저를 응원해주신 분들이 좀 많이 늘었다고 생각을 해서 그것 때문에 더 힘받아서 열심히 하는 것 같아요. 그래서 앞으로도 좀 응원 많이 해주시고 오늘 뭐 사진이나 뭐 이런 거 말씀 많이 안 하시거든요. 그래서 좀 많이 말씀하시고 좀 이렇게 사진 찍으시면 좋을 것 같고
네.
그리고 연습 도와준 친구가 너무 많아요. 연습도 많이 해서 너무 많아서 제가 개인적으로 인사를 하도록 하겠습니다.
네,
감사합니다.
다시 한번 황병영 선수 진출 축하드립니다. 팬분들 기다리고 계시니까요. 얼른 사진 찍어주러 가시죠. 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
자, 이렇게 해서 오늘의 마지막 16강 진출자 테란 황병영 선수와 함께했습니다.
All right, guys, well, there you have it. Group B is a wrap. What's going to be Barracks and Bisu moving on. Again, I think for all the Protosses out there, I'm relieved to see that Bisu is a survivor tonight, especially after Mini fell off in Group A.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to have Bisu through because he's just one of the best storylines that we possibly have. Always sad to see Sharp go out. He didn't even make it in last season. Here he is falling out in the round of 24. I hope he can re-find what he had before, right, when he was a top 8 guy all the time, because it really is such a fantastic player. But it's good to see Barracks continuing to rise up. He's getting more and more round of 16s.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny. The present can always feel so final. Like, you know, these are the players who are best, but we're always moving forward in the future here. And I mean, in a year from now, who knows how good Barracks could be? I mean, who knows? He might go very deep in this tournament. He actually should have beaten Bisu in that last game too. So I'm excited to see how he's going to develop and move forward.
Now, our next group coming up, Group C, Soma, Ample, Best Mind. This is one of our very best groups, in my opinion. I was actually talking on the commercial break about how strong Mind is right now. And of course, we know Best and Soma are two of the top of their race for a very long time.
Yeah, Best is a guy that we've always been saying we feel like he should have won an ASL, but he never did. Soma, obviously a hungry young player. I really look forward to seeing his games here. Of course, I'll never forget that amazing match he had against Bisu. That was into Game 5. That was so crazy. I think about that all the time. And yeah, Mind coming back. Tastosis is saying that he's in great shape. I've heard the same thing as well out here. And that's very welcome because, for a while, Mind was looking pretty weak. So the fact that he's kind of put the hours in and he's going to probably have a very good showing is really exciting to hear.
I think that he is going to be able to show some great games, but that's a tough first match. Best is, I would say, the second best Protoss vs. Terran player in the world right now. He's just fantastic at the matchup. So that's a tough group to really predict. Looking forward to it quite a bit. Definitely stay tuned, guys. Thank you once again for subscribing on the Patreon. That's patreon.com/ASL English. We really appreciate you guys keeping the ASL alive.
Yeah, if you haven't subscribed already, we hope you consider doing so. Sign up for a year. It is what is allowing Tastosis, myself, and our editors to continue to keep the history of the esport that started it all alive for as long as we can, hopefully forever. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will have Group C out as soon as possible. We love you. Take care. Until next time. Bye-bye.